Segment 3, Intellectuals and Vision. Intellectuals in Society. The vision around which most contemporary intellectuals tend to coalesce has features that distinguish it from other visions prevalent in other segments of contemporary society or among elites or masses in earlier times. Close quote. What is the vision to which contemporary intellectuals subscribe?
That intellectuals should influence, if not control, the kinds of decisions that are made in society, and more especially that they should promote the transfer of decisions from the masses to those who have, quote, more intellect. And given how I conceive of knowledge being its distribution, that would mean transferring decisions from where there's 99% of the knowledge to where there's 1% of the knowledge. And against that background, it's not at all surprising that things like central planning simply don't produce as good results as allowing all the millions of people to react in the marketplace.
All right. Let me ask you a question that came in from Twitter. Travis814. All these questions are limited to 140 characters, so get ready. It's coming at you, but it'll go fast. Why does the liberal progressive mindset have such a stranglehold within the intellectual academic world? Why should the vision that you just described be so prevalent among intellectuals?
Well, among the many reasons, most academic intellectuals have no experience, no serious experience outside the academy. I remember I was once an economist for AT&T when it was the world's largest corporation. And when I returned to the academic world, they welcomed me as the prodigal son, you see, had returned from the evils of corporate America to the true nirvana of academia. And not only do they have no experience, they have every incentive to believe that they are brighter than other people and no more than other people because they've been told that all their lives. I mean, you become a top intellectual because you've passed through all these successive filters. You've gotten into the best colleges. You've gotten into the best graduate schools.
Or even from second grade on, the teachers are responding to you as a kid who passes tests especially well.
Yes.
Right.
And so you have all of that in your background.
You write in Intellectuals in Society, if you happen to believe in free markets, judicial restraint, traditional values, and other features of what you call the tragic vision, there's no personal exaltation arising from those beliefs. But to be for social justice and saving the environment puts you on a higher moral plane.
Yes.
So the question here is, can it really be that simple that intellectuals across the American landscape tend to embrace the vision that you've described sheerly out of self-flattery and self-pleading?
Yes.
It is.
Don't forget, human beings have an enormous power of rationalization. Think of all the absurd things that have been believed throughout all of history. And I guess the one common denominator is that those absurd things typically were very flattering to those who believed them. They had the one true faith. They were the vanguard of the proletariat. You know, you just run through the whole list of the things.
By the way, I've been reading some Marx. Mm-hmm. I can't understand how anyone ever took that seriously. I mean, ever took it seriously.
Well, what are you reading? Sentence
by sentence, it's, I began with the Communist Manifesto that he and Engels wrote.
It's a magnificent, if you want a model for propaganda, it is the masterpiece.
But there's actually absolutely no contact with actual economic reality.
No, there's no need for that, as many people are showing. You can become president of the United States with no contact with economic reality.
All right, two quotations. Intellectuals in Society, quote, "The intelligentsia often divide people into those who are for change and those who are for the status quo."
Yes.
Candidate Barack Obama, "We are the change we have been waiting for."
Yes.
Tom?
People who say things like this act as if they're saying something new. This is what was being said back in the 1790s, and ever since then, you know, that there's nothing older than the idea that this is new. And
Thomas Paine, we have it in our power to make the world over again.
There you are.
Right.
But in point of fact, again, this is one of those totally unquestioned and unsubstantiated statements. John Dewey was saying, made the same thing some 60 years ago, that those of us who are for change have to fight against those who are for the status quo. Now, the people he was talking about, people like Adam Smith was not for the status quo.
Of course not.
As I mentioned in the book, why would Adam Smith spend a whole decade writing a 900-page book to say how contented he was with the way things were? I mean, when you spend a decade writing a 900-page book, something is bugging you. I mean... Right. And anyone who ever bothered to read Adam Smith would see that he is pretty ticked off about a lot of things.
Once again, two quotations. You quote, at a number of points in Intellectuals in Society, you quote Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes. Here's one of them. As Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said, the word right is one of the most deceptive of pitfalls and a constant solicitation to fallacy. That's quotation one. Here's quotation two. Barack Obama, quote, healthcare should be a right for every American, close quote.
Well, there's the fallacy. No, it's the word right. It's amazing. And in one sense, I simply cannot explain it. People say we have a right to affordable housing, decent health care. We have a right to all kinds of stuff. And the question is, where did this right come from?
By the way, it is literally the case that I heard on the radio the other day. One of the questions in healthcare is plastic surgery, whether it'll be taxed or paid. I literally heard someone say that women have a right to Botox treatments.
There you are.
Just thought I'd mention that for you, Tom.
Yes, well, but that's no more arbitrary than all the other things that are called rights. I mean, right now we're going to have this trial of these terrorists in a court of law, which is absolutely unprecedented and absolutely absurd. And the question is, where did that right come from? Well, it's not in the Constitution. It is certainly not in the Geneva Convention. It's just that by loose thinking, people say, well, prisoners of war get treated that way. Yes, they're not prisoners of war. The Geneva Convention said what prisoners of war were. People who adhere to the Geneva Convention get the protections of it. But during the Second World War, when some German soldiers at the Battle of the Bulge put on American uniforms, infiltrated the U.S. line, and they were captured, they were simply lined up against the wall and shot and killed right there. And it was not something secret. The Army filmed it. I've seen the films on the History Channel.
Really?
It was no question. If you don't play by the rules, you don't get the protection of the rules. It's that simple.